Really, you just go up the river road there, so many miles. I've forgotten just how many now, but I do know when I'm there. And you can see where there's a little clearing where the path goes up through there. And just direct them right up that steep path. Get out of breath when you get to the top, and when you get to the top, you've got it made. You can see the big tunnel, and it's worth it.
The big tunnel. Since the 19th century, this train tunnel has stirred the minds and the mouths of individuals living here in Tunnelton, Indiana. It has also piqued the curiosity of people from surrounding areas. It has been suggested that one of the characteristics that makes humans really human is their innate desire to tell stories. Indeed, every community has its share of local tales. These tales find their roots in the commonplace past, but they are retold, reshaped by individual narrators over time. One of the most common story genres is the legend, set in the everyday world, focusing on the mysterious, the unusual, and the supernatural. Why is this place so mysterious? Some say that a heinous crime occurred here around the turn of the century. Others say that a restless spirit haunts the tunnel and visits around the midnight hour. Or is it the strange goings-on that allegedly occur in the darkness of this tunnel? What is the fascination with these enduring tales? Why do people come again and again to this ominous place? Who tells these stories, and why are they continuing to visit the big tunnel?
It's an unusual place to go through. You walk through it. Maybe a train comes in. That's kind of exciting. You hold your girlfriend's hand while you're walking through and so forth.
It's known for taking the babes through the tunnel, okay?
It's on top of a large hill. A lot of trees and nature around, probably the nature.
It's just a cult thing to make sure you can go down there and have enough courage to go through the tunnel.
Basically, out of curiosity is why I went. I went to see what all the talk was about.
Just south of Bedford, 10 miles down Tunnelton Road, you will find a piece of Lawrence County's history still alive and rolling.
Oh, the tunnel itself was finished about 1856. I said finished. It went through, and the first train went through.
The first engine that ever went through it stalled in the very middle. Had to be pulled out with a team of mules. And then for a week after that, people would stand on either side of the tunnel to watch the trains go through. And they finished it up in 1908, putting brick on.
But they was for 40-some years that they didn't finish it up, brick it up.
The tunnel was completed at about 1st of September in 1856. And they had a great festival and a party, and the people gathered all around. And the story goes there was about 160 young ladies.
And all the girls were dressed up in their white finery in 1850, latter part of the 60s. And all their dresses were nice when they went in.
They got stalled in there. And they had to get mules to come down. They were in there about 2 hours to get that thing started, and people outside were frantic because they didn't know what had happened to them. So when they came out, back then the engines all used wood, and there was a lot of smoke and so forth.
When they got out, most of them was black.
I think they ruined about 160 white dresses.
Freight trains still travel through the tunnel at least 2 times a day. These trains are still a central figure in the legends surrounding the big tunnel.
There's a constant pull on your body from the suction from the train going through so quickly, and you have to hold your hands out against the wall to keep yourself from being pulled out.
On the side of the tunnel, there's cubby holes that you get into if the train's going by. And I couldn't find one. I had my hand up against the wall running down through there as fast as I could, and I couldn't find one. And the train was just about up to me, and an arm reached out and grabbed me and pulled me back in.
Oh, scared me to death. Thought I was gonna die. Had to run down through there and try to find a cubby hole, and it was pitch black. And
Everybody will say that If you go in the tunnel and stuff, the suction will suck you under the train and kill you and stuff. It isn't that bad. I usually just get in the cubby hole just for the engine or something to go by.
It must be something like skydiving. You just feel like you're like being pulled in constantly. It was a long train too, I might add.
We always hear about the trains sucking people out of the situation, so we were both holding my daughter in. Well, you couldn't see anything because all the dirt and debris that was flying up in there was just about to get us.
If the train comes through, you better pray that you're in that cubby hole.
I really did. I thought I was gonna die.
It shakes your whole body and everything like an earthquake. And the gravity is so hard. You just have to, you have to use everything to stay in there.
We were afraid that she was going to be sucked out of there. So that's the closest I've ever been to a train. And it was in a curved area, so we were real close. We were coming out of the train, Tunnelton. It was really cute. My daughter found $2 laying at the entrance of the tunnel, and she says, "Well, it sure was worth more than $2, Mom."
My father used to take us there a lot of times on Sunday afternoon, and we'd get about halfway through the tunnel and a train would go through and turn around and start back, and I'd say, wait, let's go all the way through. No, we don't have time, we gotta get back, we gotta do other things and everything. So that used to always kind of upset me.
Because everyone else went. Everybody went.
Actually, I've been down there one as a child with my parents just to see the tunnel because it is kind of an amazing accomplishment to have been built by hand and taken that much labor. As a teenager, because that was a place to go and party a little bit and see if you could see the ghost by any chance.
When I got out of school, started running around on my own and stuff, I had friends who would say, well, let's go to the tunnel, and so we'd go, and I say, only if you promise me that we can walk all the way through. So I was probably in college before I ever got to walk all the way through the thing.
Around here, Bedford, there's nothing to do anyway, except, maybe cruise around town or something. And then that just adds a little more adventure on your weekend.
And that's the place to go for people to party.
It's a nice place, like go have a party or something. And that's why a lot of the teens around here are go down there, and that and the myth, just seems like if there's a myth about something, everybody wants to, even if it's not true, everybody wants to try to be a part of it or something like that.
A lot of times, if you go at around time, there'll be devil worshipers down there. That's what I was going to say. That's devil worshipers hang out down there.
I'm just interested with the tunnel. It's quiet, peaceful. It's interesting when the train goes through to hear the rumble and the wind and everything.
People go back week after week, and they say they find something out different every week they go. So it's like a mystery to Bedford, I guess.
Oh, I think they're just looking for something to do. Bedford's a small town. There's not a whole lot to do, especially for teenagers. And that gives them something to do.
Kids go down and, take their dates and try to scare them or impress them or whatever, and gangs go down there and have parties. I'm sure they probably do some illegal drinking, that type of thing.
There's a lot of probably illegal drinking and just partying and scaring each other, that kind of thing.
Like I said, it was just always been a traditional thing to do. Your mom and dad do it, and you hear them talk about it, and you think, oh, there can't be anything to that, and so you go down to do it, and then you tell your kids about it, and just progresses like that's what I'd say.
You go in there, and they have all kinds of cool paintings on the walls and stuff, or people swing their spray paint cans, and just go in there and read the walls. Look at the pictures, it's pretty cool. Probably wasted $100 worth of paint in that place.
I really dislike graffiti on anything that it doesn't need to be on. I just don't think it's necessary to ruin something that I think was attractive without graffiti, and I'm not sure that it enhanced the looks any. I'm sure people who put it on there thought it was, their etch in life. Look what I did. I have my name on the tunnel.
Yeah, it's almost a ritual. You have to. It's like a state statute that says you must spray your name.
And it doesn't bother me. It just shows that it's still in use and people still go down there.
You can see the graffiti on the wall. It's so perverted, and there's all kinds. Every part of the wall is written on.
When the very first time I seen that, it looked like you couldn't write another name on there.
Me and a couple of my friends put this great big skeleton on the wall, and from head to toe, and it looked really cool. And we did his eyes in green, so like when you ran a flashlight across it, it'd glow. That's pretty neat.
They had painted one of those black and then painted a white skeleton in there. So I thought, well, that's pretty interesting because they did a real good job on the artwork. It looked pretty good.
The tunnel has mysteriously drawn people to it for years. Going to the tunnel has become almost a ritual for individuals in this area. And these visits become the subject of what folklorists call personal experience narratives. Individualized accounts shared in informal conversation. They implicitly demonstrate varied attitudes towards the tunnel and the events surrounding it.
The first time that I ever remember going through that tunnel, when I was a little boy, and I'll tell you, it was the day after Louis Spurpole and Jack Dempsey fought for the world championship. It was the next day afterwards.
I remember my brother coming back from being out there with a group of his friends, and supposedly there was a cat that had been, that was dead when they walked into the tunnel, and they came back out and the cat was gone, and they heard a meow and looked up and there it was.
We used to get a stick and rub it along the wall as we went up the road, and every once in a while there's what they call manholes in that, you know, so we get back in case the train was there.
There's been times where you can go walk through and you'll feel a hand grab your shoulder, but you'll turn around, there isn't nothing there.
One time my nephew was cut up and he was in there, and a gang of these college students were in there, and they were talking and scared and carrying on, and he hid up front, and when they came by he jumped out and hollered boo. Needless to say, there's a lot of screaming and running in that tunnel.
You'll have times that you'll walk through and you'll hear people behind you, and you'll go back and there is nothing there.
There is a lady that I work with who says that her husband was there one night with some friends of his. This was back in their high school party days, you know, and he said he pulled out a cigarette and got ready to light it, and he looked down and it was already lit.
Well, I remember one time in high school we went down there with, I think I was a junior or senior, and we took one of the freshmen down there and got him back inside the tunnel, and we held him down, took all of his clothes off, and then we took off and left him in there.
One day we come out and we looked around the entrance to the tunnel for empty spray paint cans and stuff, and there wasn't anything out, no trash or anything. We went in, the train went through, and when we came back out, we looked around again, and we found 357 shells that had been shot that were silver, and I'd picked one up, and after I got home, I looked at it again, and it had turned brass.
The people that we were with had a flashlight, and they were in front of us, and we kept hearing someone like throw rocks at us or something, and we were real scared, and all of a sudden we started running, and we could hear somebody running, and we'd turn the flashlight around, there wouldn't be nobody there. It was really scary. I got freaked.
Me and about 4 other guys went. We all had brand new flashlights, brand new batteries, and we went in, we got about halfway through the tunnel, and 2 of them conked out.
We brought a Ouija board out here one night and was talking to it. A lot of strange things happened that night. We started seeing figures and stuff that weren't there, and we was hearing things that we didn't really hear. I was the only one of the 4 of us that was here, and we'd ask it questions when it was built and when it was finished and everything, and it would tell me the right answers. And I know for a fact that I wasn't moving it. No one else with me that night knew that information.
On the way back, the other 2 flashlights conked out, and it was totally dark in there. You couldn't see nothing. And it was just, when the lights went out, you start hearing weird noises and stuff, and we thought, well, someone's messing with us or something. And we started hearing footsteps behind us, and it just kept getting faster and closer and faster. And so we took off running because we finally got scared enough where we wasn't going to be macho about it anymore. And we got to the end of the tunnel and waited for someone to come out, and then we just kept hearing footsteps. We never heard anybody.
So that's a question. What happened? We don't know that.
To answer this question, people tell legends which explain the disturbing events, and these legends serve to intensify the experience of visiting the tunnel. They also are a way of dealing with the fears and anxieties that are raised by the violence and death that have occurred down there.
And some of the tales that they told was back in those days when I can remember were outlandish.
And there's been a couple murders in here. The ghost of Henry Dixon that roams the tunnel. He was killed, and then the guy that killed him brought him in here to have his body obliterated by the train. That way nobody could find the evidence.
I don't know just how the story goes, but anyhow, he got killed in there. Somebody murdered him.
Nobody knows who killed him either. He hasn't ever been found.
I don't remember exactly how he got killed is the problem, but he was killed and continued to haunt the tunnel and to cause trouble while they were building the tunnel for the rest of the time.
One of the stories is that the guy's head got cut off by a train. You hear it rolling down the tracks.
You could see this fella and you feel a whistle of wind on your back of your neck and all. You can still feel that wind if you go back in that tunnel.
You can see the ghost that roams every now and then. You can go in, you can see the lanterns and stuff. Supposedly he had his head cut off. And he roams carrying a lantern.
Supposedly if you go down there and about the right time, you'll see this guy coming walking through there, holding a lantern or something.
I've always heard of people that have went down there and supposedly seen the ghost or seen a lantern that walks at night, so he can make his way through the tunnel from one end to the other.
Now he'll walk through the tunnel carrying his head in one hand and a lantern in the other.
This railroad worker went through there, and supposedly he had fallen or something. His head had got severed from the rest of his body, and supposedly he carries a lantern through there a certain time of the year looking for his head or something.
I heard that there was a guy that was working down there or something, and a train came through and he didn't get in a cubby hole, and so he got sucked under. Everybody says his ghost walks through there, and you can he was carrying a lantern, and you can see the lantern in there, and it's real scary.
One of the other stories I heard was that the watchman walks across the top of the tunnel, and if you go through the tunnel at night, you can hear him, and around midnight is what I heard. You can also see him walking on the hill above the tunnel, carrying a lantern, swinging a lantern with his carrying his head under his arm.
There's some other stories about a light that hovers and floats through the tunnel, and if you get in a cubby hole, it'll pass by you, but you won't hear anything.
The one about the two spikes that's at the front, if you touch them, then you're supposedly going to die when you go in, or just myths like that. There's quite a few of them that go around through here.
Two guards, okay, they're on each end. They walk back and forth like this, guarding the tunnel. Because, you can't let the other army get the tunnel. You can't get your train through, get your ammunition, right?
Right.
So they're walking. They meet each other right here every time, all right? Meet each other in the middle every time. So one time, this man comes down. Okay, where's the other guy? He ain't there. Where's the other guy? Okay, he's shining the lantern around. He's going, Harry, where are you? He shines up there, and Harry's hanging from a spike up there, and he's hung. It's in his back, and Harry's hanging. He's dead. The man's dead. That's a true story, I swear.
Her name was Mary Steele, and she used to live here years ago, and she met the 16-year-old soldier boy that was walking across the top of the tunnel down there, and fell in love with him, so they married and went out to Illinois someplace and lived happily ever after, about 55 or 6 years. I never did believe all those things, but a lot of people do. But I'm not going to go in there about that time of year and watch for him.
I believe there are presences, yes. I've never run into one in the Tunnelton Tunnel, but I believe that type of thing's possible.
You have a story that starts originally, and then there's just always the mystery there of taking a chance of really being the person that sees something.
It just sort of floats around, just stories that float around you hear every now and then,
My mom and dad used to go down there. They told me some stories when they was younger, about my age.
A lot of the old timers, there's a lot of farmers around here, southern Indiana, and it's fun to kick back, talk with your grandpa.
Oh, it's always been going on a long time in history. And it just keeps living on. When the old timers die off, young people tell about it too.
Customs, graffiti, and a rich array of narratives Among them oral history, personal experience stories, and legends. These all combine to create a rich tradition of folklore in southern Indiana, the Big Tunnel.
The entrance to darkness is round and bleak. It follows a path into the earth where the spirits and undead roam. The walls and ceilings are covered with graffiti from trespassers of years gone by. At certain times, the great demon enters and goes through, disturbing everything in its path like a Great Depression. As it leaves, you continue to fill its wrath until it feels as if time has stopped completely. As you leave, the life of the past will literally pass before you. Do not be disturbed, it is only an illusion. But beware, because the ghost of Henry Dixon is very, very near to you.